Chapter 41 Killing Lianxu. You are listening at Mtlnovel Aud. The killing blade in Qin Buyi's hand quickly faded and disappeared. The disappearing killing blade appeared in the sea of consciousness, and the divine thoughts in the sea of consciousness poured into the blade. The blade instantly turned into a golden color, exuding domineering and pure killing intent. Whoosh! A palm-sized golden killing blade appeared in front of Qin Buyi's eyes, and attacked Zhang Yuan in the next second. Laugh! Before Zhang Yuan could react, the killing blade had already penetrated Zhang Yuan's sea of consciousness. Boom! The killing blade entered Zhang Yuan's sea of consciousness, and the sharp blade kept hitting the sea of consciousness. Boom! 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 There was a loud sound in his ears, and the severe pain in his consciousness made Zhang Yuan fall to his knees and kept hammering his head. When the killing blade struck the ninth blade, a shattering sound came from Zhang Yuan's sea of consciousness. Crack! Crack! The frequency of the shattering sounds is getting denser and denser. Boom! Zhang Yuan's overwhelmed consciousness exploded. After the sea of consciousness exploded, Zhang Yuan fell to the ground, taking in less air and outgoing more air, looking at Qin Buyi with dull eyes. Qin Buyi recalled the killing blade, walked up to Zhang Yuan, and struck down with the sword. Killing and slaughtering. The killing blade vibrated tens of thousands of times per second and passed Zhang Yuan's neck cleanly. Laugh! The head was chopped off. Zhang Yuan never understood until his death why Qin Buyi's cultivation had improved so much in a short period of time. Even his injury, which was expected to take a month to heal, actually healed so quickly. After taking away everyone's space rings, Qin Buyi broke open the window and left the headquarters of the Cultivators Association. After Qin Buyi left, the entire Cultivator Association headquarters was in chaos, and the news that Qin Buyi killed the direct descendants of the Wu family and Zhang Yuan in the early stage of Lianxu also spread quickly. City, Lianxu was sitting at the branch of the Cultivators Association in City S, drinking tea leisurely. The subordinates suddenly rushed in from outside in a panic and handed Lianxu a piece of information. Lianxu received the information, frowned slightly at first, then laughed heartily and said, I really saw the right person. Qin Buyi made such a fuss, and the Wu family's superficial power in the world was basically exhausted. But I didn't expect that his cultivation would improve so quickly. The headquarters of the Kyoto Cultivator Association is now vacant. We need to find a way to see if we can arrange for our Lan family to be included. This is a rare piece of cake. Kyoto, Inoue looked at the information that had just been urgently sent to her. After reading the information, she was a little stunned. That man actually killed Zhang Yuan, it's unbelievable. Inoue said in shock. At the same time, Lan Wenhao also received the information. Lan Wenhao laughed for a while, and said in a somewhat relieved tone, You guys in the Kunlun secret realm are usually so crazy. You must have encountered a tough situation this time. The secret realm of Penglai is about to be opened. Marquis Wu was seriously injured and he fled to nowhere, and Zhang Yuan was beheaded. If the Kunlun secret realm knows about it, your nose will probably be crooked with anger. Kunlun secret realm, Zhang Feng, one of the three masters of virtual refining, is playing chess with Wu Qianquan, the ancestor of the Wu family. Suddenly Zhang Feng felt panicked, and his hand holding the chess piece stopped in mid-air. Wu Qianquan, who was sitting opposite Zhang Feng, saw something was wrong with him and asked, Brother Zhang, what's wrong? Boom! The chess pieces on Zhang Feng's fingers exploded instantly, and powder fell down Zhang Feng's fingers. Just now, Zhang Feng sensed in his mind that his grandson Zhang Yuan's order lamp was extinguished. This means that Zhang Yuan's body has disappeared. While Wu Qianquan was looking at Zhang Feng with confusion, a disciple of the Wu family walked in from outside and handed Wu Qianquan a jade talisman. When his spiritual sense penetrated the jade talisman, Wu Qianquan instantly understood why Zhang Feng was so out of sorts. Later, behind the jade talisman, I saw the news that Wu Shenyan was seriously injured and escaped, and his whereabouts are still missing. Wu Qianquan exuded strong killing intent, and said in a cold voice, If you dare to hit my son seriously, Qin Buyi, you deserve to die. Qin Buyi, catch you, I will turn you into an oil lamp and let you die in pain. Zhang Feng said with hatred in his eyes. after losing his son in middle age, Zhang Yuan was left with a grandson, who Zhang Feng devoted all his efforts to cultivate, but he never expected that he would be killed just a few days after leaving the Kunlun secret realm. How could this keep him from being angry? Wu Qianquan and Zhang Feng looked at each other, stood up and left the Kunlun secret realm at the same time. While Qin Buyi was flying, he threw all the space rings he got to the system mall for recycling. Ding, the system mall is calculating the value of items. Ding, calculation completed, total value, mall points. So few. Qin Buyi said, a little surprised. No wonder Qin Buyi asked this. He searched twice from Kunlun Sect and gained a lot each time. This time, he killed an early-stage Lianxu, and with the direct lineage of the Wu family, he only had, mall points. System, did you steal my points? Qin Buyi asked doubtfully. Host, please don't slander the fair, kind, and righteous system. Thunder will be at your service next time. The system replied righteously. Justice, kindness, justice, which of these three words do you think is most relevant to you? Qin Buyi couldn't help but complain. Just after Qin Buyi finished speaking, a purple thunder slowly gathered above Qin Buyi's head. No, I take back what I just said. You are the fairest, kindest, and most just system. Qin Buyi immediately changed his words. The purple thunder above his head slowly dispersed. Qin Buyi let out a breath. It would be uncomfortable to be hit by this thing once. System, when will you change your habit of not making noises when you can do something? Qin Buyi said, when you were stronger than me, I changed. The system replied calmly. The system's words made Qin Buyi choke into silence. Qin Buyi kept searching in the system mall and soon found his favorite item, level, Tianji tracking, disposable prop with powerful tracking ability. You can easily find the opponent's hiding place, value, mall points. After thinking briefly, Qin Buyi decided not to improve his cultivation level yet. 100 mall points is just 10 attribute points, which will greatly increase your strength if you use it to break through, but if you use these, points to purchase Tianji tracking, find Wuho, and kill Wuho, the income will definitely far exceed the mall points decisively exchange for Tianji tracking. Tianji tracking looks like a compass with a red pointer in the center of the compass. After carefully reading how to use Tianji tracking, Qin Buyi took out Tianji tracking and silently thought about Wuho's appearance and aura. The central pointer of the compass rotated rapidly. After about 10 seconds, the pointer stopped rotating and pointed to the east. Qin Buyi flew along where the pointer pointed. After half an hour, in front of an unknown mountain range, Qin Buyi descended from the sky and looked at Wuho, who was sitting cross-legged by the pool to recover from his injuries. Wuho felt Qin Buyi's aura, opened his eyes instantly, and said in disbelief, how did you find this place? Chapter 42, Killing Marquis Wu and Completing the Battle to Refine Su. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Buyi used his exploratory eyes to look at Wuho. Wuho was currently in a very bad condition. Not only has the overall cultivation fallen to the early stage of nascent soul realm, but it is also very unstable, and the cultivation may continue to decline at any time. When Wuho saw Qin Buyi finding him, he no longer looked as majestic as before, and he said bitterly, I will give you all my cultivation resources. Can you spare my life? Qin Buyi shook his head and said in a cold voice, no. From Qin Buyi's state, Wuho instantly understood what his fate would be, and without saying a word, he turned around and fled, but Wuho had fallen to the early stage of nascent soul, and his escape speed was like slow motion in Qin Buyi's eyes. Killing and slaughtering, he drew out the killing blade and slashed towards Wuho's throat. How dare you, Shuzi! At this moment, a loud shout came from the distance. Qin Buyi turned his head and looked into the distance, only to see two old men full of murderous intent coming towards this place quickly. Have you two achieved perfection in refining the void? Qin Buyi was shocked when he saw the opponent's cultivation through his probing eyes. When he took a closer look at each other's appearance, Qin Buyi instantly understood who the two of them were. It is recorded in the information given by Lan Tianhe that they are two of the three masters of the Kunlun secret realm. When Marquis Wu saw these two figures, he couldn't help but shout with joy on his face, Father, save me. When Wu Qianquan heard this, he opened his mouth to calm Qin Buyi and said, if you dare to kill my son, I will make sure you die without a burial place. If you are willing to spare my son's life, and we will not interfere with the river from now on, I will give you another 500 million low-grade spiritual stones as a thank you gift. Just when the Wu family father and son thought Qin Buyi would stop, a discordant voice came out. Laugh, that the sound of the blade cutting through flesh was like a shrill silver bell, and the whole scene fell into dead silence. Qin Buyi took back the killing blade and wiped off the blood on the blade. He walked to Wu Ho's headless body, took off his space ring, and quickly handed it over to the system wall for recycling without having time to see what was inside. Ding, item value is being calculated. Ding, calculation completed. Total value, 1,350 points. Seeing these points, Qin Buyi's eyes lit up and he said in his heart, this is the wealth a person in the void refining realm should have. If Zhang Yuan heard this, he would probably crawl out of his grave and say angrily for himself. I just came out from the Kunlun secret realm to play for a few days. Who would take all their wealth with them when they go out for fun? That without any hesitation, Qin Buyi exchanged the remaining 350 points into 35 attribute points after retaining 1,000 mall points. After adding attribute points to himself, Qin Buyi said in his heart, breakthrough. Crack, there was a crisp sound in the body. After the first crisp sound, the second and third sounds followed. Cells in fascia, muscles, bones, blood, etc. in the body are rapidly replaced. Old cells die and stronger new cells are born. In this rapidly changing state, severe pain came, and dense beads of sweat instantly appeared on Qin Buyi's forehead. The blood in Qin Buyi's body rushed towards the sea of consciousness in his brain like a raging river. When the blood rushes to the sea of consciousness in the brain, it seems to hit an invisible barrier. Boom! Qin Buyi heard a loud noise. Boom! 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 As the blood continues to hit the sea of consciousness in the brain, loud noises continue. Crack! After dozens of impacts in a short period of time, the blood finally rushed through the sea of consciousness in the brain. The blood flowing into the sea of consciousness in the brain constantly opens up new spaces in the sea of consciousness. After some transformation with his blood, the area of the sea of consciousness in Qin Buyi's mind expanded to twice as much as before the breakthrough, and his spiritual thoughts also broke through to the strength of the late stage of refining the void. After the sea of consciousness was transformed, all parts of the body returned to calm. Qin Buyi opened his information panel. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti Elementary. All attributes increased by 5.00%. Cultivation, level 234. Early stage of void refining, 500/- divine thought. Late stage of refining the void, power, 234. Speed, 234. Stamina, 234. Attack, 234. Defense, 234. Luck, 234. Killing blade, level 234, 500/- broken blade, 1/9, attack increase, %, attack, 234. Killing sword technique, level 200, 200/- cannot break through without follow-up, attack, 200. Qinglong, level 234, 500/- all this happened in the blink of an eye. When Wu Qianquan saw Qin Buyi killing Wu Ho without hesitation, his eyes were blood red and he said bitterly, boy, I want you to pay for my son's life. Zhang Feng, who was on the side, also said bitterly, boy, if I don't crush you to ashes, it won't be enough to satisfy the hatred in my heart. Qin Buyi looked at the two of them and said calmly, you are so self-righteous. Do you only allow them to kill me and not me to kill them? You sharp-tongued boy, if my grandson wants to kill you, it will be your honor. Pay with my grandson's life. Zhang Feng said angrily. Qin Buyi laughed angrily at Zhang Feng's words and said jokingly, old man, are you dizzy? Zhang Feng spit out a mouthful of gourd, held it in his hand, and said angrily. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal killing flying knife. The gourd quickly returned to its normal size in Zhang Feng's hands. The gourd lid was opened, and a cloud of mist appeared inside. After a while, the clouds and mist rolled and condensed into a human head with wings and facial features. The head was made of clouds and mist, and it was impossible to see what it looked like. Zhang Feng then shouted, baby, please turn around. The man turned his head, let out a strange cry, and headed towards Qin Buyi to kill him. the next moment, he appeared in front of Qin Buyi and entered the sea of consciousness in Qin Buyi's mind. Qin Buyi's eyes shrank, the immortal killing flying knife turned out to be a spiritual attack. Killing creatures and scattering souls, that the killing blade in his hand quickly faded and disappeared. The disappearing killing blade appeared in Qin Buyi's sea of consciousness, pointing at the human head condensed from the immortal flying knife. After the killing blade appeared in the sea of consciousness, spiritual thoughts were poured into the body of the killing blade like a soldier seeing a general. The golden blade exudes powerful and pure killing intent, before the winged head could do anything in Qin Buyi's sea of consciousness. The killing blade slashed towards the opponent. Hey! Hey! Laugh! After the divine mind breaks through to the late stage of void refining, the lethality of the Sanhun sword technique has been greatly improved. Seishi blade occupies the advantage of the home court and continuously launches attacks. Boom! After being slashed several times with the killing blade, the cloudy heads formed by the immortal killing flying knife could no longer maintain their cohesion and fell into a ball. A strange cry came out from the clouds again, and the head retreated faster than when it came. The outside world was confident at this time. Zhang Feng was waiting for the results. Wu Qianquan on the side was looking at the gourd in Zhang Feng's hand with burning eyes. The spiritual attack method is so precious that the entire Wu family does not have one. Even in Mtlnovel Aud's Kunlun secret realm, only the Zhang family has such a spiritual attack method, and it has never been spread out. Wu Qianquan once offered to exchange a large number of rare treasures, but Zhang Feng rejected them without hesitation. As a result, every time he saw Zhang Feng using the immortal killing flying knife, his heart felt like a cat scratching his head. The next second, Zhang Feng saw that the head of the cloud and mist had just entered Qin Buyi's knowledge sea. In less than 2 seconds, it dispersed into a cloud of mist and escaped back without looking back. It seemed as if some poisonous snake and wild beast were chasing it. After escaping back to the gourd, Yinwu Rentu covered all the gourd plugs. No matter how Zhang Feng called it, it never came out. Qin Buyi looked at Zhang Feng and shouted, "It is disrespectful to come and not return. You should also taste the taste of my sword." Killing creatures and scattering souls, that the golden killing blade shot out from Qin Buyi's sea of consciousness and headed towards Zhang Feng. Whoosh! Zhang Feng saw that the killing blade was getting closer and closer to him, and he became more and more anxious and shouted for the immortal killing flying knife to come out to defend, but the gourd of the immortal decapitating flying knife seemed to have fallen into deathly silence. Without any response, the immortal killing flying knife was the only spiritual attack method in Zhang Feng's hands. At this time, there was no response from the immortal killing flying knife. He could only watch the life-killing blade getting closer and closer to him. Laugh! The killing blade entered Zhang Feng's sea of consciousness without any hindrance. The killing blade that entered the sea of consciousness started to wreak havoc and continuously slashed at the sea of consciousness. Boom! 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 With each slash, the pain on Zhang Feng's face became thicker and thicker, and sweat quickly penetrated Zhang Feng's body. It is not that spiritual attacks cannot be defended, but only magic can defeat magic, and only spiritual attacks can be defended against. This is also the precious thing about spiritual attacks. Conventional means have little effect on this kind of attack that directly points to the sea of consciousness. Wu Qianquan looked at Zhang Feng who was in pain beside him, then turned to look at Qin Buyi, with blazing fire in his eyes. Qin Buyi was like a walking treasure in his eyes at this moment. He could clearly see that Zhang Feng was hurt by a rare spiritual attack. After longing for such a long time, he saw hope in Qin Buyi, and greed instantly filled Wu Qianquan's heart. "Boy, accept your fate." Wu Qianquan shouted. Seeing Wu Qianquan attacking him, Qin Buyi stretched his hand into his arms without any haste, as if he was reaching for something. Qin Buyi groped around in his arms and finally touched a tail. "Found it. Old Ghost Wu, look at the treasure." Qin Buyi shouted to Wu Qianquan. When Wu Qianquan flew to half the distance from Qin Buyi, he stopped in midair in surprise and looked at Qin Buyi. He couldn't help but be careless. Judging from the intelligence, the guy opposite was very evil. In just 1 year, he has grown from an ordinary person with no cultivation to such an extent. Until now, even the void refining consummation has to be wary of him. Who knows what other methods he has, but he has to guard against it. Seeing Wu Qianquan stopped in the air, Qin Buyi urged. Old Ghost Wu, come here. Wu Qianquan did not move. After carefully observing for a while, Qin Buyi made no move. He deduced in his mind that Qin Buyi might be deceiving himself to delay time, and couldn't help but secretly thought, cunning boy, after I get the Qi Yu Kung Fu in you, I will make you experience various tortures and die from the torture. No longer hesitating, he quickly attacked Qin Buyi and shouted. Kunlun Great Captor. Above Qin Buyi's head, a huge palm formed and fell towards him. Qin Buyi also shouted. Look at me, the secret technique, Dakinglong. After saying that, he pulled the tail he felt from his arms and swung it out hard, and a small green dragon the size of a palm flew towards Wu Qianquan with a slight snore. Xiao Qing, wake up, don't sleep, get up and work. Qin Buyi's spiritual thoughts poured into Xiao Qinglong's body and called Xiao Qinglong. Xiao Qinglong slowly opened his eyes, looking around blankly as if he hadn't woken up yet. The master below waved his hand towards him, and there was a guy above him with murderous intent. He was caught in the middle and seemed to be in flight, as a mythical beast. Xiao Qinglong has a very high IQ and can instantly understand everything happening at the moment. A deafening and loud dragon roar came from the mouth of Xiao Qinglong. Chapter 43 Both Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the dragon chant, in the field, a green dragon hundreds of feet long was entrenched in the air. Xiao Qing, beat him. Qin Buyi shouted from below. After the little green dragon grew older, his voice was no longer immature, revealing the majesty unique to the dragon clan. Okay, sir. The dragon head turned around and rushed towards Wu Qianquan. In the middle, he opened his huge dragon's mouth and swallowed the big grappling hand issued by Wu Qianquan in one gulp. Wu Qianquan stood there with a face full of shock, and murmured, the dragon is actually a long-extinct dragon, and a green dragon that is good at attacking. Blue Star's spiritual energy is exhausted, and the cultivation environment is very harsh. Even the Kunlun secret realm only has one dragon, and as for a dragon, it has never been seen before. Now seeing a living green dragon appearing in front of his eyes, how could Wu Qianquan not be shocked? After the shock, Wu Qianquan looked at the little green dragon with burning eyes and said in his heart, if I can conquer this green dragon, the dragon blood, dragon scales, dragon saliva, etc. will definitely be a huge income every year. Just one dragon made Kunlun's secret realm make a lot of money, let alone a real dragon. Xiao Qinglong saw the greed in Wu Qianquan's eyes, and this greed made him very unhappy. From ancient times to the present, dragons have always been sought after by cultivators. Some powerful cultivators will even capture real dragons and kill them to refine weapons and elixirs. This sense of crisis and hatred is deeply imprinted in the blood of every true dragon, and the majesty of the dragon clan cannot be challenged. An angry dragon roar came out, and the little green dragon charged towards Wu Qianquan. Sun Long's battle technique, swallowing the sky. The little green dragon opened its mouth and swallowed the entire sky where Wu Qianquan was. When Wu Qianquan saw the little green dragon coming to kill him, he did not dare to relax at all. The dragon clan had disappeared in Blue Star for a long time. Legend has it that this creature is extremely powerful, invincible at the same level, and even killing it across realms is not a problem for the dragon clan, and the Qinlong clan is good at killing among the dragon clan. God knows what the opponent's combat power can reach. Kunlun's secret technique, extermination. Before Wu Qianquan could unleash his attack, Xiao Qinglong took a big bite. The sky where Wu Qianquan was instantly plunged into darkness without any light, and then the entire sky disappeared completely as if someone had bitten it out of thin air. Wu Qianquan felt his eyes go dark, and when he looked around, he saw that the surroundings were also dark. In this dark space, Wu Qianquan felt a sense of rejection from all around him, as if he had been stripped out of the Blue Star. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal killing sword. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal killing sword. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal sword. Kunlun's secret technique, immortal trapping sword. Kunlun's secret technique, Zhuxian sword formation. That Wu Qianquan spit out 4 small swords from his mouth, and the small swords quickly increased to about 10 feet in size. He occupied 4 positions beside Wu Qianquan and firmly protected Wu Qianquan. At this moment, the majestic voice of Xiao Qinglong came from the entire dark space. Songlong's secret technique Netherworld, that the feeling of rejection that Wu Qianquan felt instantly intensified countless times and rushed towards him. The feeling of rejection quickly turned into a feeling of squeezing. The constant squeezing from all around made Wu Qianquan feel as if he was a sponge being squeezed crazily. His mind controlled the Zhuxian sword formation to resist the increasing squeezing feeling, and the pressure on his body disappeared. Wu Qianquan breathed a sigh of relief, but the spiritual power in his body was rapidly consumed in the confrontation. Qin Buyi watched the battle in the sky and asked Shao Qinglong to fight. He felt quite helpless in his heart. After the killing blade left his hand, his combat power dropped too seriously. Without the killing blade in his hand, he had nothing to do against Wu Qianquan except staring. What surprised Qin Buyi was the powerful combat power of Shao Qinglong. The Shao Qinglong in the early stage of Su Lian was not weak at all against Wu Qianquan, who had completed the Su training. Even at the beginning of the attack, even Qin Buyi didn't understand Shao Qinglong's offensive. The little green dragon took one bite, and Wu Qianquan seemed to disappear from sight together with the sky where he was. He gave Shao Qinglong an encouraging look, and with a little worry told Shao Qinglong to pay attention to safety and run away if he really couldn't beat him. Qin Buyi flew in front of Zhang Feng, who looked in pain, and reached out to recall the killing blade that wreaked havoc in Zhang Feng's sea of consciousness. Qin Buyi thought to himself, we have to find another fighting technique, otherwise the fighting method will be too simple and we will suffer too much. Thinking of this, Qin Buyi suddenly remembered that after completing the war mission and destroying the Kunlun secret realm, the mission reward seemed to contain a skill. It seems we have to speed up the task. Zhang Feng's condition was not very good at this time. Although the killing blade had not shattered his sea of consciousness, it was still in a precarious state. After Qin Buyi recalled the killing blade, Zhang Feng endured the severe pain of the consciousness sea and did not choose to continue fighting at the first moment, but turned around and ran away quickly. Faced with such a powerful spiritual attack, his only defensive method was ineffective. If Qin Buyi were to hit him with such a knife again, his sea of consciousness would be completely shattered. At that time, he would inevitably end up with a cultivation level that dropped to Yuanying or even Jindan. Tangtang's perfect cultivation level in Lianxu has dropped to nascent soul, which is more difficult to accept than killing him, and the shattering of the sea of consciousness is basically a permanent and irreversible damage, at least within Zhang Feng's knowledge. He has never heard of any case where the sea of consciousness returned to its original state after being shattered. Combining all these factors, Zhang Feng was completely afraid of Qin Buyi, and even temporarily put aside his hatred of killing his grandson. Seeing Zhang Feng turn around and run away, Qin Buyi naturally couldn't let him go like this. He held the killing blade in his hand and shouted, "Killing and slaughtering." After breaking through to the early stage of void refining, the killing power has been significantly improved. From tens of thousands of vibrations per second before, it can now reach vibrations per second. The high-speed vibrating killing blade slashed towards Zhang Feng. Zhang Feng looked at the killing blade getting closer and closer to him, gritted his teeth, and threw the gourd of the immortal killing flying knife to block Qin Buyi's attack. Chung! The killing blade struck the gourd hard. Crack! Crack! Cracks appeared on the surface of the gourd struck by the killing blade. Zhang Feng took back the gourd, looked at it with distressed eyes, and continued to escape forward with all his strength. Killing and slaughtering. When the first blow failed, Qin Buyi changed his grip and threw it. The high-speed vibrating killing blade was thrown by Qin Buyi, piercing Zhang Feng's head straight away. Whoosh! During the extremely fast flight of the killing blade, the wind brought up produced waves of sound. Zhang Feng heard the sound behind him and turned around. The sight almost scared him out of his wits. The high-speed vibrating killing blade was heading towards him like the king of hell demanding his life. In desperation, Zhang Feng gritted his teeth and burned the essence and blood in his body, and his speed suddenly increased several times. It's not that he doesn't have ways to resist Qin Buyi's attack, but once he resists, he thinks that he will most likely be entangled by Qin Buyi. Once caught in a fight, Qin Buyi will be in trouble again if he attacks with his spiritual thoughts. The essence and blood can be regenerated after burning, but when the sea of consciousness is broken, it is really broken. Seeing Zhang Feng out of his attack range, he gradually became a small dot and disappeared in his sight. Qin Buyi recalled the killing blade and flew back to Shao Qinglong with some regret in his heart. Refining the void perfection is really not that easy to kill. Unfortunately, if we can kill the opponent this time, the difficulty of destroying the Kunlun secret realm will be reduced by 1/3. However, Qin Buyi was not too disappointed. Based on his judgment, Zhang Feng's injuries to the consciousness sea could not be healed without consuming a lot of resources and time. This means that in a short period of time, Zhang Feng's combat power will be halved, and a toothless tiger is naturally no longer worth fearing. As soon as Qin Buyi returned to Xiao Qinglong, he saw Xiao Qinglong opened his mouth and spat out, and Wu Qianquan's embarrassed figure appeared out of thin air. After Wu Qianquan came out, he immediately ran away. Without looking back, now Qin Buyi was completely angry. He could comfort himself by running away, but if both of them ran away, his work would be in vain. Qin Buyi shouted, "Old Ghost Wu, since you are here, please stay completely." Chapter 44 One Die One Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Wu Qianquan heard Qin Buyi's words, his escape speed suddenly increased by 3 points. While pursuing, Qin Buyi turned to look at Xiao Qinglong beside him and asked in confusion, "What did you do to him?" Xiao Qinglong faced Qin Buyi and said with a somewhat naive expression, "Master, you didn't do anything." "What did you do if you didn't do anything? Why does he see you as if you were a ghost?" Qin Buyi said. Xiao Qinglong explained on the side, "Maybe it's because he doesn't have much life left." Qin Buyi asked in confusion, "You don't have a long lifespan." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Wu Qianquan's figure beginning to age faster while he was running away. In less than a few seconds, his appearance was haggard, his face was haggard, and he looked like he was about to die soon. Wu Qianquan looked at the little green dragon that was catching up behind him, and said with unconcealed fear in his tone, "I didn't expect that there would be such an evil spell in the world, sucking people's lifespan, you evil dragon." Recalling what happened to him in that dark space, Wu Qianquan could not stop trembling. The feeling of backlog in the dark space is getting stronger and stronger, so it doesn't matter if you use your spiritual power to counter it. There are many spiritual stone space rings that can replenish your spiritual power, but gradually Wu Qianquan discovered that something was wrong. Every once in a while, his body became slower than before, and his cultivation was also declining. By the time he fully understood and reacted, most of the life force in his body had been absorbed, leaving only an empty shell with only a superficial appearance. After reaching the void refining realm, he has a lifespan of 2,000 years. Wu Qianquan is less than 1,000 years old this year, but after the life force in his body has passed away, he actually feels that his end is approaching. How could this keep him from being frightened and never dare to stay in that weird dark space again? After exposing all 4 swords of the Zhuxian sword formation, Wu Qianquan found a gap and escaped. As soon as he came into contact with the outside world, he saw Qin Buyi beside him and Zhang Feng who had disappeared without a trace. As long as they are not fools, no one will stay at this time and face the combined attack of Qin Buyi and Xiao Qinglong. Killing creatures and scattering souls. Qin Buyi's death-like voice came from behind. Wu Qianquan turned around in a hurry and saw a palm-sized golden killing blade attacking towards him. He recognized this move, which was exactly what Qin Buyi used against Zhang Feng. He also beat the Zhang family's unique immortal killing flying knife into silence, but Wu Qianquan did not dare to meet its sharp edge. Biting the tip of his tongue and burning the essence and blood in his body, Wu Qianquan's speed suddenly increased several times and he fled forward. Qin Buyi's nose smelled the smell of blood left in the air, and then he saw Wu Qianquan's escape speed increasing dramatically. The distance from him was getting further and further away, so he had no choice but to stop again, and couldn't help but said sarcastically, "You people in the Kunlun secret realm are all born in the year of rabbit, can you only run?" Wu Qianquan heard Qin Buyi's sarcasm, suppressed the urge in his heart to stop killing Qin Buyi, and escaped forward. After burning the essence and blood, Wu Qianquan's little vitality drained away again. Wu Qianquan expected that even if he could escape and survive this time, he would only be able to survive for a year or two, maybe even shorter. Xiao Qinglong saw that Qin Buyi's flying speed could not match Wu Qianquan's speed, so he turned around and came to Qin Buyi's side as he was flying ahead. With the dragon's head, he pushed Qin Buyi on top of his head and pursued Wu Qianquan. Wu Qianquan, who was escaping in the distance, couldn't help but look back when he saw that there was no movement behind him. he saw the green dragon hundreds of feet long approaching him at a speed far exceeding his own flying speed. Qin Buyi was standing on top of the dragon, holding the knife that emitted cold light and staring at him with murderous intent. Holy shit! What kind of monster is this? Even a dragon can't be so unreasonable. Besides, aren't dragons all arrogant? How could they be willing to let a human step on their heads? That Wu Qianquan's heart was completely confused at this time, and he didn't understand why this was happening. Originally, when he came out of the Kunlun secret realm, he thought that killing Qin Buyi would be easy. However, as time passed, the situation became more and more different from what he thought. First, Qin Buyi, who was still in the late stage of becoming a god, killed Wu Ho in front of him, and then in a way that he couldn't understand at all, in the blink of an eye, he broke through to the early stage of refining the void. After breaking through to the early stage of refining the void, the old guy Zhang Feng, who was killed with a sword attack using his spiritual mind, had his consciousness damaged. Seeing Qin Buyi without a weapon in his hand, he wanted to take advantage, but the other party actually released a real dragon. Just when Wu Qianquan was thinking wildly, a dragon roar came from beside him, and the little green dragon led Qin Buyi to fly at the same speed beside Wu Qianquan. Wu Qianquan suddenly broke out in a cold sweat, and immediately changed direction and continued to escape. Within a few seconds, the little green dragon continued to appear next to Wu Qianquan. Qin Buyi saw that Xiao Qinglong was having fun and did not stop him. In Qin Buyi's eyes, Wu Qianquan was already a dead man. The only difference is as simple as dying early and dying late. Wu Qianquan changed direction several times in succession, but the result was the same every time. Seeing Qin Buyi, one person and one dragon, it was like a cat playing with a mouse. Wu Qianquan said with some despair in his heart, "Is this the place where I will be buried today?" Qin Buyi stood on the dragon's head, looking at Wu Qianquan who was no longer escaping, and asked in confusion, "Why didn't you run away?" "Humph," that Wu Qianquan snorted coldly and said in a slightly crazy tone, "Don't you want my life? Then come and get it. Even if you die, I will support you." Qin Buyi saw Wu Qianquan's gesture and slowly uttered two words, "Idiot." Then he looked at Xiao Qinglong and said in an exaggerated tone, "You seem to have scared him." When Xiao Qinglong heard Qin Buyi's words, he showed his white teeth and said, "Master, I will eat him later and he will not be frightened again." Wu Qianquan looked at the dragon and the man in front of him, deliberately mocking himself, and suddenly felt inexplicable grief and anger. He rushed straight towards Qin Buyi and shouted, "If you want to die together, we will see you on the road to hell." "Master, it's not good, he's going to blow himself up." Xiao Qinglong said. At this time, it was impossible for Xiao Qinglong to escape because the distance between the two parties was too close. What's more, Wu Qianquan was determined to die and was determined to die with Qin Buyi, so there was no way he could escape. As Wu Qianquan's spiritual power fluctuated, a loud noise was heard. Boom! In a hurry, Qin Buyi had no other choice but to resist. After the bang, Qin Buyi's clothes were broken into strips. Puff! A large mouthful of blood spit out from Qin Buyi's mouth. "Master, are you okay?" Xiao Qinglong's caring voice came from Qin Buyi's arms. In the critical moment just now, Qin Buyi ignored Xiao Qinglong's opinion and decisively put Xiao Qinglong into the system pet space. After the explosion, Xiao Qinglong was released again. "It's okay. I can't die now. This time I really capsized in the gutter." After Qin Buyi finished speaking, he fainted. Chapter 45 Fame. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Qinglong quickly caught Qin Buyi who had fainted. When Qin Buyi woke up again, he found that he had returned to the hotel in Kyoto. Seeing himself appearing in the hotel, Qin Buyi didn't show any surprise. As a Qinglong who has cultivated in the early stage of void refining, his wisdom is extremely high. It would be a surprise if he couldn't even do this. Seeing Qin Buyi wake up, Xiao Qinglong said happily, "Master, you finally woke up." Qin Buyi sat up slowly, his internal organs feeling intense pain as if they were being burned. "How long have I been unconscious?" Qin Buyi asked. Xiao Qinglong opened the dragon's claws at the side, thought for a while and said, "The master has been unconscious for 2 days and 1 night. Fortunately, I didn't faint for too long." Qin Buyi said with a sigh of relief. Opening the system mall, Qin Buyi saw that the purchase limit for the awakening secret realm in the mall was less than 1 day away. Looking at the remaining 1,000 mall points, Qin Buyi decisively bought the awakening secret realm. Seeing that the points were reset to 0 again, Qin Buyi felt a little sad but also had a little expectation. I hope this awakening of the secret realm can increase my combat power to a new level. Qin Buyi thought to himself. Qin Buyi recalled that before he passed out, he did not seem to have the Wu Qianquan space ring in his pocket. He asked Xiao Qinlong, "Have you got Wu Qianquan's space ring back?" Seeing that Qin Buyi was seriously injured, Xiao Qinlong waved his little claw helplessly and said, "Master, you were seriously injured after that human exploded himself, and the space ring was also destroyed." When Qin Buyi heard what Xiao Qinlong said, a look of pain flashed in his eyes. Wu Ho's space ring allowed Qin Buyi to get more than 1,000 mall points, which would definitely be more if he got Wu Qianquan's space ring. Qin Buyi now feels like he missed, million. He stood up to check his injuries. Dense internal injuries were piled up in his body. Qin Buyi estimated that it would take half a year to recover from his injuries without the aid of medication. The power of self-revelation in the perfection of refining the void is indeed extraordinary. Taking out the clothes from the storage space, Qin Buyi changed out of the clothes that had been blown into strips and thought about the next thing. Qin Buyi didn't know that the Blue Star cultivation world had caused huge waves because of him. Fire Cloud's secret realm. Are you sure the Lan family won't participate in the encirclement and suppression of Qin Buyi? The master of the Huiyan secret realm. Huaganyan looked at Lan Wenhao with an unkind look. Lan Wenhao looked at his nose and his heart and replied as if it had nothing to do with him. My Lan family does not want to get into this meaningless fight. Huaganyan squinted his eyes and looked at Lan Wenhao and said, "Okay, very good. So, it seems that it is true that Qin Buyi has a very close relationship with your Lan family." Lan Wenhao stood silent for a long time without speaking. Your Lan family can think about it for yourself. You can either join forces with the 3 secret realms to encircle and suppress Qin Buyi, or you can withdraw from the Fire Cloud secret realm. Huaganyan paused and advised with earnest words, "Is it worth risking the entire Lan family's future for Qin Buyi? As far as I know, Lan Yan's physical condition does not seem to be very good. You Lan family should consider it yourself." After listening to Huaganyan's words, Lan Wenhao's expression kept changing. After a while, he said in a bitter voice, "My Lan family is willing to withdraw from the Fire Cloud secret realm from now on." Boom! After Lan Wenhao finished speaking, Huaganyan slapped the chair next to him, and the chair immediately shattered. Huaganyan looked at Lan Wenhao up and down for a long time, and said angrily, "You, the Lan family, are seeking death by striking an egg against a stone." Lan Wenhao said nothing, cupped his hands at Huaganyan, turned and left. Huaganyan looked at Lan Wenhao's leaving figure and wanted to kill him. However, when he thought of Lan Yan, the ancestor of the Lan family, he immediately gave up the idea and sneered. Your Lan family spared no effort to help him. Don't you also hope that he will bring out treasures to heal your Lan family ancestors' injuries? Then it will be a fight. It will be up to you to see how your Lan family handles it. After Lan Wenhao came out, he returned to the Lan family's base camp in the Fire Cloud secret realm with mixed feelings. As soon as he came back, he ordered the Lan family members to prepare for the family's relocation. The Lan family was shocked and didn't understand why they had to leave the secret realm of Fire Cloud that had existed for thousands of years. Lan Wenhai, the 4th son of the Lan family, came to Lan Wenhao immediately after receiving the news and asked in confusion, "Third brother, why do you want to move the whole family?" Lan Wenhao was in a very bad mood at this time, but he still patiently explained the important matters of the Lan family. "Third brother, I don't agree. You are crazy. You are gambling with our entire Lan family. I firmly disagree." After hearing this, Lan Wenhai slapped the table and said, "Snapped." Lan Wenhao slapped Lan Wenhai on the face, knocked Lan Wenhai out, and said in an unquestionable tone, "You have to agree even if you don't agree. Now execute the order." At the same time, the voice spread throughout the entire Lan family, all Lan family members, if they want to stay in the Fire Cloud secret realm, will be regarded as a clan member, and those who judge the clan will be killed without mercy. Lan Wenhai got up from the ground and looked at Lan Wenhao with disbelief. You are really crazy. After saying that, he turned around and left with a wave of sleeves. Lan Wenhao's spiritual thoughts covered the Lan family. Seeing that although the Lan family was a little reluctant, they were packing up and preparing to leave, he couldn't help but sigh, I hope my decision is right. Lan Wenhao is the third eldest child in the Lan family. The eldest and second eldest son died unfortunately in their early years. As the ancestor of the Lan family, Lan Yan was seriously injured during the last opening of the Penglai secret realm, and left shortly after returning. During these days, Lan Wenhao, who had the highest cultivation level, had been struggling to support the Lan family. News of the death of the ancestor of the Lan family had not spread, and there were very few people who knew about it. Helping Qin Buyi is indeed a big gamble, but if it succeeds, the Lan family will become the Blue Star Overlord. But if it fails, the consequences may be that they will be shattered to pieces, but he couldn't help Qin Buyi, given Lan Wenhao's understanding of Huaganyan. If Huaganyan discovers that Lan Yan has passed away after a long time, the fate of the Lan family will not be too good. At this time, the Lan family is like a paper tiger. It looks scary but is actually very empty. It is better to take a gamble than to survive. Just when Qin Buyi was thinking, there was a knock on the door. Qin Buyi stood up and opened the door. He saw Wang Fugue with a flattering smile on his face and said, Sir, someone is looking for you below. Qin Buyi asked in confusion, Is there someone looking for me? Didn't I tell you not to disturb me if you have nothing to do? Wang Fugue saw that Qin Buyi's face was a little unhappy, and his heart felt bitter. He didn't want to disturb Qin Buyi, but he couldn't afford to offend the man waiting below either. Wang Fugue, who couldn't afford to offend either, said with a smile, Sir, the man below asked me to give this to you, saying that you will understand after seeing it. A sachet was handed from Wang Fugue's hand, with a big word blue written on it. When Qin Buyi saw this Lan, he felt enlightened and said, Invite people up. Wang Fugue breathed a sigh of relief and said with a slightly relaxed look, Okay. Then he trotted away and left Qin Buyi's sight. Lan family. Qin Buyi whispered. After a while, Wang Fugue came to Qin Buyi's door with a beautiful figure behind him. Qin Buyi didn't close the door just now. Wang Fugue asked carefully at the door, Sir, people have been brought here. I understand, go and do your work. Qin Buyi said in the room. Miss, please. Wang Fugue walked into Qin Buyi's room with this beautiful figure and closed the door gently. As he turned to leave, all kinds of bloody plots and TV dramas flashed through his mind. Qin Buyi looked up and down at this beautiful woman who could definitely be called a stunning beauty. My name is Lan Linglong, and my third uncle asked me to bring this to you. Lan Linglong, who was not looking well, took out a jade talisman and handed it to Qin Buyi. As the proud daughter of the Lan family, she is even the leader of the entire younger generation of Blue Star. She was full of curiosity about the young man in front of her who was about the same age as herself and whose cultivation level was several times higher than her own, but when they first met, she found that the other person was staring at her like a slave, which made her impression of Qin Buyi change drastically. Qin Buyi took the jade talisman handed over by Lan Linglong, and penetrated the jade talisman with his spiritual mind to look at the things recorded in the jade talisman. For a long time, Qin Buyi withdrew his thoughts and sat on a chair nearby. Lost in thought, he learned from the jade talisman that the three secret cultivation realms were preparing to work together to encircle him, and all the information about him since his birth has been investigated clearly. In just 1 year, Wu Qiankuan, who had broken through from an ordinary person to the early stage of cultivation, and even completed the cultivation, was killed. The combination of spiritual attack, true dragon, and extraordinary cultivation breakthrough speed, the combination of all these things is tantamount to revealing a message to others, that is, a shocking adventure. People die for money and birds die for food, and practitioners are no exception. Considering that Qin Buyi had the ability to kill Lianxu perfection alone, he even killed one and injured one against two. They decided to join forces to encircle and suppress Qin Buyi, and even Shueiyue's secret realm, which had never participated in the disputes in the cultivation world, got involved. which proved how powerful Qin Buyi's attraction was. It's a pity that Qin Buyi is not a little boy who walks through the market with a heavy treasure in his hand. If anyone wants to come forward and get a piece of the pie, they have to consider whether their life is strong enough. The Jade Talisman recorded that the Lan family even did not hesitate to withdraw from the Fire Cloud secret realm for themselves. Qin Buyi was also stunned. In the end, Lan Wenhao expressed sincerely that the Lan family was willing to do its best to help Qin Buyi overcome this difficulty. Lan Linglong took off the space ring from the finger of her right hand, put it in front of Qin Buyi and said, "My third uncle asked me to give this to you. He said it might be useful to you." Qin Buyi took the space ring and penetrated it with his spiritual thoughts. Inside the space ring, boxes of low-grade spiritual stones are densely and neatly placed. Qin Buyi counted 1,000 boxes of inferior goods. Looking up at Lan Linglong, Qin Buyi said, "Tell your third uncle for me, thank you very much. After this, the Lan family will be the most powerful family on Blue Star." Lan Linglong nodded and said nothing, her eyes flickering. She didn't understand her third uncle's decision. In her opinion, although Qin Buyi was very strong, he was still a bit weak against the 3 secret realms. It was too hasty for the third uncle to put the entire family on fire like this. Qin Buyi ignored Lan Linglong's thoughts. Lan Wenhao's 1,000 boxes of low-grade spiritual stones could be said to have solved Qin Buyi's urgent need. Opening the system mall for recycling, Qin Buyi put the space ring in. Ding, item value is being calculated. Ding, calculation completed, total, 1,000 mall points. Chapter 46 3 Gu Kunlun Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Buyi looked through the mall and quickly settled on his target, 5th level Blood Bodhi, a holy product of healing. The physical body can be restored to its original state within a quarter of an hour even if there is only 1 breath left. Value, mall points. It's not too expensive. Qin Buyi looked at the price and thought to himself, after purchasing the Blood Bodhi, Qin Buyi took it immediately. The injuries inside his body began to heal rapidly, and in less than a quarter of an hour, Qin Buyi was back to normal. Lan Linglong watched from the side as Qin Buyi accepted the Spirit Stone and exchanged it for the Blood Bodhi. There was no doubt. In her opinion, Qin Buyi took it out of his own space ring. After recovering from his injury, Qin Buyi opened the attribute redemption function in the system mall. Since breaking through to the void refining realm, the attribute exchange in the system mall has changed from 10 points to exchange for 1 attribute at the 4th level to 20 points to exchange for 1 attribute. After converting the remaining mall points into attribute points and adding them to himself, Qin Buyi opened the information panel. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti Elementary. All attributes increased by 5.00%. Cultivation, level 274. Early stage of void refining, 500/- divine thought. Late stage of refining the void, power, 274. Speed, 274. Stamina, 274. Attack, 274. Defense, 274. Luck, 274. Killing blade, level 274, 500/- broken blade, 1/9, attack increase, percent attack, 274. Killing sword technique, level 200, 200/- cannot break through without follow-up, attack, 200. Qinglong, level 274, 500/- More resources are needed to improve one's cultivation in the void refining realm. I recall that when I was in the foundation establishment realm, 1 point points to 1 attribute, and now 20 points to 1 attribute. The change is nearly 20 times different, and the number of mall points required to redeem attribute points in the fusion realm is estimated to increase a lot. The further you go, the harder it will be to improve your cultivation level. I should have known that I would be able to exchange more attribute points for my nascent soul when I was transforming into a god. Qin Buyi was thinking about it, but there was no point in regretting it now. It was better to think about the reality of exchanging more attribute points before the realm was broken through. After coming back to his senses, Qin Buyi saw Lan Linglong staring at him in shock and asked, "What's wrong? Is that unicorn fruit you just ate?" The unicorn fruit is only produced in the Kunlun secret realm every 1,000 years. Legend has it that it can make human flesh and bones come alive. Lan Linglong said in a sour tone. Qin Buyi's thoughts changed and he understood what Lan Linglong was talking about. It was the blood bodhi he had just eaten. The flesh and bones of the living dead are not quite the same, but they are not far apart. Qin Buyi explained, the effect of the 5th level blood bodhi is obviously more powerful than that of the 4th level. As for the standard for the remaining breath written on it, Qin Buyi didn't know, but he thought the effect would definitely not be bad. It is indeed a unicorn fruit. The healing effect is indeed as miraculous as the legend says, but the one you ate seems to have a stronger aura than the one I have seen. Lan Linglong said with some confusion. That's for sure. The 4th level blood bodhi is what you call the Qilin fruit. According to your standards, the 5th level blood bodhi should be the Qilin fruit king. Of course, Qin Buyi didn't say these words in his heart. He looked at Lan Linglong and had some speculations about Lan Wenhao's purpose of sending her here. Now that the Lan family has moved out of the Fire Cloud secret realm, there will definitely be a lot of trivial matters and unexpected situations happening. The Lord of the Fire Cloud secret realm would definitely not let the Lan family leave so easily. He sent Lan Linglong to his side for 2 purposes. First, Lan Linglong, as the most powerful and promising younger generation of the Lan family, was sent to Qin Buyi to express the sincerity of the Lan family to Qin Buyi. Second, the Lan family is in a special situation now, and Lan Linglong stay in the Lan family will not be of much use, and she may even be in danger. He took this opportunity to be sent to Qin Buyi. Although Qin Buyi was in a very dangerous situation, due to his strong strength, staying with Qin Buyi could be said to be the safest place. Did your 3rd uncle tell you when he came? Qin Buyi looked at Lan Linglong and asked. Yes, 3rd uncle asked me to stay with you and help you with some trivial matters. When Lan Linglong heard Qin Buyi's question, her cheeks turned slightly red and she replied unnaturally. In fact, before she came, Lan Wenhao secretly pulled her aside and joked. I heard from your 7th uncle that Qin Buyi graduated from the highest university in China just like you. You two are about the same age. As young people, it is inevitable that there will be firewood and fire. Qin Buyi saw Lan Linglong's unnaturalness, but he ignored it and said calmly, then let's go. Regarding Qin Buyi's meaningless words, Lan Linglong asked blankly, where are you going? Go and add some joy to life in the Kunlun secret realm. Qin Buyi raised the corner of his mouth and said with murderous intent, the 3 major secret realms uniting to encircle and suppress themselves must be inseparable from the Kunlun secret realm. The most direct one among them is Zhang Feng. Qin Buyi didn't even need to think about it. Zhang Feng must have escaped from him, and then turned around and spread the news that he had a real dragon, a spiritual attack method, and an unusual breakthrough speed. Regarding Zhang Feng's attempt to kill someone with a borrowed knife, Qin Buyi certainly had to come to thank him. But now the outside world is eager for you to leave Kyoto. In Kyoto, they are afraid of causing large-scale casualties and dare not take action against you. Once you leave Kyoto, these people will no longer be afraid. Are you sure you don't want to avoid the limelight? Lan Linglong gave a general description of the situation and looked at Qin Buyi with an expression of confusion. Qin Buyi glanced at Lan Linglong and said, those chickens and dogs alone are not enough to scare me away from going out. After a pause, Qin Buyi said again, Lan Wenhao asked you to come here just to ask you to talk nonsense. Lan Linglong was choked by Qin Buyi and couldn't speak for a long time. It took a long time before she uttered 2 words, it's up to you. Although he said this, what he was thinking in his heart was, you arrogant and desperate guy, the chickens and dogs you talk about are all existences in the realm of refining the void, or even the perfection of the realm of refining the void. At this moment, Xiao Qinglong poked his little head out of Qin Buyi's arms and said eagerly, Master, are we going to take revenge this time? In Xiao Qinglong's consciousness, Wu Qianquan revealed that he blew Qin Buyi into serious injuries. Now that his injuries have recovered, he naturally wants to seek revenge from the forces behind him. Qin Buyi nodded. After hearing this, Xiao Qinglong flew out of Qin Buyi's arms with a swish and flew around the room excitedly. For the newly born little Qinglong, fighting is as fun as a game, not to mention that the Qinglong clan is naturally aggressive, and fighting has already become an instinct imprinted deep in their souls. After playing around in the room, The little green dragon got into Qin Buyi's arms again and turned into a palm-sized green dragon tattoo that was constantly swimming on Qin Buyi's body. When Lan Linglong saw the little green dragon flying back into Qin Buyi's arms, she withdrew her eyes that had been on the little green dragon and said, "Is this the green dragon? It's so majestic and handsome. Do you usually leave him outside like this? Aren't all spiritual beasts supposed to have space for spiritual beasts, that there is naturally a spirit beast space, and the pet space provided by the system is many times more advanced than the so-called spirit beast space, but Xiao Qinglong has basically never been in it since he was born, and even made it clear to Qin Buyi that he didn't like it there." Qin Buyi saw that Xiao Qinglong didn't like the pet space, so he left him outside without forcing him. Usually, Xiao Qinglong's biggest hobby is getting tattoos, quietly staying on Qin Buyi's body and sleeping. If Qin Buyi hadn't woken it up to fight Wu Qianquan, there's no telling how long it would have slept. After Qin Buyi left Kyoto with Lan Linglong, they kept flying towards Kunlun Mountain. While flying towards Kunlun Mountain, Qin Buyi did not hide his aura at all. He was arrogant along the way as if he was afraid that others would not know that he was going to Kunlun Mountain. Lan Linglong was also shocked by Qin Buyi's actions and wanted to say something. However, when the words came to his lips, he remembered Qin Buyi's choking appearance and swallowed them back. 2 hours later, Qin Buyi looked at the familiar Kunlun sect below and slowly fell down. Lan Linglong followed closely and looked at Qin Buyi curiously. She wanted to know what medicine Qin Buyi was selling in his gourd. Different from the previous 2 times, this time Qin Buyi directly drew out the killing blade and struck the Kunlun sect with one strike. Boom! After a loud noise, a knife mark appeared across the entire Kunlun sect. "Who dares to come to our Kunlun sect and act arrogantly?" A sharp shout came out from the Kunlun sect, and a figure whose cultivation level was only in the early stage of becoming a god flew out. Qin Buyi put the killing blade into its scabbard and pointed the index finger of his right hand at the figure. "Killing life and death realm." A dark light condensed on the tip of Qin Buyi's right index finger. In the blink of an eye, the light condensed into a finger-thick beam and shot towards the opponent. "Things who don't know whether to live or die, let me tell you." Before he finished speaking, a bloody hole as thick as a finger appeared on the forehead of the figure in the early stage of transformation, and the figure flying in mid-air fell instantly. Boom! The corpse hit the ground, throwing up countless dust. Lan Linglong watched from the sidelines as Qin Buyi killed the incarnation in the early stage as easily as he slaughtered a chicken, and felt waves in his heart. After a period of hard work, her cultivation had recently reached the early stage of becoming a god, which was worse than the one Qin Buyi casually killed. After breaking through to become a god, her heart has always been full of pride. After realizing Qin Buyi's methods, all complacency and pride disappeared at this moment. It's just that she ignored the most important point. Qin Buyi's current combat power and the enemies he faced were all Blue Star's top cultivators. It was no problem to instantly kill an early-stage god. After the death of the early incarnation, the Kunlun sect fell into complete silence, and no one came out for a long time. Qin Buyi released his spiritual thoughts and enveloped the entire Kunlun sect. Within his spiritual thoughts, every disciple of the Kunlun sect was trembling with fear. Among these disciples, there were several people dressed in distinctive clothes, and Qin Buyi saw a familiar face among these people. Powerful spiritual thoughts enveloped this person and instantly took him away from his companions and came to Qin Buyi's eyes. Qin Buyi said to the person in front of him, "Tell me, who is in charge of the Kunlun sect now?" Lianxu was spending a good time among the few true disciples, but suddenly his vision blurred. When his vision returned, he saw the man who had appeared in his dreams countless times like a demon. "The first time I saw this man, I was knocked unconscious. When I woke up, all the deputy sect leaders were dead, and the entire Kunlun sect was looted. As a result, the whole sect lived a frugal life for a long time, and he was almost dismissed as a true disciple. Fortunately, after spending a lot of spiritual stones to smoothen the relationship, he finally kept his name as a true disciple. The second time he saw this man, he was knocked unconscious again. When he woke up, all the senior officials of Kunlun sect were dead. Not only that, the supplies just sent from above were looted. Now it was the third time I saw this man, and the same words came again." Lianxu wanted to say that he didn't know, but thinking of his own life, Lianxu replied honestly, the person in charge was killed by you just now, and now there is no one in charge. After saying this, Lang Ye's body softened. He was so spineless in front of the whole sect. Basically, the Kunlun sect would have no place of its own in the future. At this moment, Lang Yi felt as if God had made a big joke on him. Why did you let yourself meet this devilish man? Chapter 47 Disbandment of Kunlun Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lan Linglong heard Lang Yi finish from the side and thought to herself, you can become the leader of the Kunlun sect in the early stages of becoming a god. It seems that the Kunlun sect has really declined. Qin Buyi nodded without any surprise. The first 2 times he came to Kunlun sect, he had killed all the senior officials of Kunlun sect. Now there is only one person left who is in the early stage of becoming a god, and he can be regarded as the taller one among the short ones. After Zai Lang Yi answered the question, Qin Buyi threw Lang Yi to Lan Linglong and told him, keep an eye on him. At the same time, Qin Buyi's voice sounded throughout the Kunlun sect. From now on, I declare that the Kunlun sect is disbanded and all personnel will leave in 3 days. After Qin Buyi finished speaking, an uproar arose within the Kunlun sect, and the disciples looked at Qin Buyi in shock. What? The Kunlun sect was disbanded? How is it possible? Stop joking. Entering the Kunlun sect was a place that my family spent a lot of money to obtain. Now that it is disbanded, all the spiritual stones spent by the family will be wasted. Everyone, calm down. Our Kunlun sect is a force in the Kunlun secret realm. I believe that the strong people in the Kunlun secret realm will not let this person above him do whatever he wants. After Qin Buyi finished speaking, he closed his eyes and rested his mind, patiently waiting for time to pass. Announcing the dissolution of the Kunlun sect is the first step towards disgusting the Kunlun secret realm. It was also Qin Buyi's trick. If the Kunlun secret realm could not even maintain its own power, its prestige would be greatly damaged. The 3 major refining realms of Kunlun secret realm are complete. Wu Qiankuan is dead, Zhang Feng Sea of consciousness is damaged, and one of them is still missing. Now Qin Buyi's biggest worry is not that Lianxu perfection in the secret realm of Kunlun comes to fight with him, but the Kunlun secret realm, refining the void perfection, is hiding in the secret realm and cannot come out. This is one of the reasons why Qin Buyi announced the dissolution of the Kunlun sect, but had to wait 72 hours for everyone in the Kunlun sect to leave. The purpose is to force the Kunlun secret realm to perfect its emptiness. Soon, in Qin Buyi's mind, he saw several figures. Among the disciples of the Kunlun sect taking out sound-transmitting jade talismans to send messages to the outside world, Qin Buyi did not stop them and allowed these disciples to convey the news. Lan Linglong was standing aside, feeling that her views had been overturned by Qin Buyi these days. The Kunlun sect, a sect that has existed for a very long time, was a behemoth when she was young. Her father even brought her to visit when he was still alive. In the Kunlun sect at that time, the sect leader Wu Qiankuan was in the void refining realm. Even the deputy sect leaders were mostly taken by direct descendants of the Wu family. Their cultivation levels were generally in the middle to late stage of divine transformation, but now that Wu Qiankuan is dead, the entire Kunlun sect cannot find a single person who has cultivated in the god transformation realm. It was the man next to him who caused all this. He played his cards unconventionally, his cultivation level advanced rapidly, and his combat power was so high that no one could ever figure out his true identity. Lan Linglong looked at Qin Buyi with a complicated expression. She already understood what Qin Buyi was going to do, but she still felt incredible, like in a dream. A person actually challenged a secret realm. The key is that he did it. Most of the disciples in the Kunlun sect had decadent expressions on their faces at this time, and a sense of sadness arose within the Kunlun sect. Lang Yi, who was beside Lan Linglong, didn't have a decadent expression on his face. He was already thinking about where to go next home. In his mind, even if the Kunlun sect is not disbanded after this incident, it will definitely not have its own place to stand. It would be great if I could enter the Shueiyue secret realm. There are so many beautiful ladies in there. In his heart, Lang Yi fantasized about the scene where he was surrounded by many beauties, but when he thought that the Shueiyue secret realm only recruited female disciples, a grown man like himself would definitely not be able to enter, and Lang Yi sighed slightly in his heart. It seems that the only choice is to join the Fire Cloud secret realm. I hope that after joining the Fire Cloud secret realm, I will not encounter this man again. After Lang Yi silently glanced at Qin Buyi, he immediately withdrew his gaze and began to secretly glance at Lan Linglong beside him. Lan Linglong has a graceful figure and looks that can be called the beauty among beauties. How could Lang Yi, as a normal man, miss the opportunity to feast his eyes on it, let alone be with a beautiful woman at close range? Boom! Just as he was taking a peek, a knife hit him on the back of the neck, and Lang Yi fainted instantly. Before he fainted, Lang Yi's last thought was, being knocked unconscious for the third time in the Kunlun sect, is this God's will? Lan Linglong took back the delicate hand that knocked Lang Yi unconscious, looked at Lang Yi with disgust, and spat, "Bah! You're a disciple." Qin Buyi saw this scene in his mind and did not stop Lan Linglong. The reason why he didn't let Lang Yi go back was to let Lan Linglong look at him. It was purely because when Qin Buyi knocked Lang Yi unconscious twice before, he judged in his heart that this person was one of those who would not give up his life for the Kunlun sect, and wanted to stay with him to see if he could get more information. Now seeing Lang Yi fainting again, Qin Buyi couldn't help but complain in his heart, "I'll let you just stare and faint." Time kept passing, and soon the day passed. There was no movement in the Kunlun secret realm. Not to mention the appearance of Lianxu perfection, not even an ordinary disciple from the Kunlun secret realm came. This also heightened the sense of desolation among the Kunlun sect disciples. On this day, Qin Buyi came to the Kunlun sect and announced the dissolution of the Kunlun secret realm, which really shocked other forces. Lan Wenhao looked at the news from Lan Linglong in the city, and his frowning brows relaxed slightly, and then knitted together again. In the past 2 days, he has led the Lan family to escape from the Fire Cloud secret realm. Of course, the process was not very beautiful and smooth. Hu Danyun did not take action because he was afraid of the ancestor of the Lan family, but he ruthlessly plundered the Lan family. This is still within the acceptable range for Lan Wenhao, compared to Hu Danyun. If he knew the consequences of the death of Lan Yan, the ancestor of the Lan family, spending money to avoid disaster would undoubtedly be a better choice. Lan Tianhe noticed the change in Lan Wenhao's expression and asked, "Third brother, what's wrong?" Lan Wenhao handed the jade talisman in his hand to Lan Tianhe, who took it and penetrated it with his spiritual mind. After reading the news recorded in the jade talisman, Lan Tianhe said with some schadenfreude, "Qin Buyi's skill is amazing. Isn't this putting Kunlun's secret realm on the fire? The entrance to the Kunlun secret realm is within the Kunlun mountains. Qin Buyi is equivalent to blocking the door to the Kunlun secret realm." Lan Wenhao took Lan Tianhe's words and sighed. What's even more amazing is the Kunlun secret realm. It's been a day since someone blocked the door, but there's no response at all. Lan Tianhe looked at Lan Wenhao doubtfully and said, "Isn't it a good thing that the Kunlun secret realm didn't respond? We will disband the Kunlun sect in 3 days and see how he handles himself in the Kunlun secret realm in the future." Lan Wenhao explained patiently, "The Kunlun secret realm will not wait until 3 days for Qin Buyi to disband the Kunlun sect. There must be something brewing if there is no response now." Water Moon secret realm. Hong Wanru, the master of Shueyue's secret realm, looked at Yingyue and said, "News has come from the Kunlun secret realm. I have decided to send you an elder Hongxiu to carry out this mission." Yingyue looked at Hong Wanju and said, "Are you going to the Kunlun sect to encircle and suppress Qin Buyi?" Hong Wanru nodded slightly when she heard Yinyu's question, but Yinyu shook her head and said, "I won't go." "Why is this? This time you and elder Hongxiu went together. You are only responsible for the perimeter containment. It is not very dangerous." Hong Wanru asked. Yinyu pursed her lips and said nothing. Looking at Hong Wanru firmly, seeing Yinyue's firm attitude, Hong Wanru said helplessly, "Okay, it's up to you this time." Yinyu bowed, turned and left. On the way away, Lan Wenhao's appearance appeared in her mind. Lan Wenhao had told her not to get involved in this matter under any circumstances, otherwise it would be very difficult for him. Thinking of Lan Wenhao's sometimes mean demeanor, Yinyue's heart felt like a deer bumping into each other. Although she was indifferent to Lan Wenhao on the surface, her heart had already been moved by him. He seems to be having a hard time now. He led the Lan family out of the Fire Cloud secret realm and fully supported Qin Buyi. I hope he can win this big bet. Yin thought to herself. Fire Cloud Secret Realm. Huaganyun looked at the figure in front of him and said in a consultative tone, Elder Huidao, I'll leave it to you this time. Huidao looked at Huaganyun and said with a nonchalant expression, it's just Qin Buyi. This time the three major secret realms are jointly taking action, what else can happen? Huaganyun said in a somewhat complicated tone, that's what I said, but we all know this person's information. His cultivation level is advancing very quickly. If you don't fear 10,000, just be afraid of the worst. I think you are too cautious. Can a cooked duck still fly? Huidao said contemptuously. Huaganyun ignored Huidao's contemptuous attitude towards him and continued, Elder Huidao, let's go now. After listening to Huaganyun's words, Huidao didn't speak anymore, but turned and left. Huaganyun looked at the back of Huidao leaving, and the fists hidden in his sleeves opened and clenched and opened again. The Fire Cloud Secret Realm also has three major refining realms. Now that the Lan family has withdrawn, there are only two remaining refining realms. What Huiyan's secret realm needs most now is unity. If Huidao cannot bear to give in at this time, Huidao will withdraw in anger. The Huaganyun is really unable to sing alone, and the Huiyan secret realm will soon decline. Therefore, facing Huidao's attitude, Huaganyun could only hold back and not let himself get angry. Kunlun secret realm. Taoist Kungsu, the master of the Kunlun secret realm, looked at Zhang Feng, whose spiritual consciousness was damaged, and said, I'm going to kill Qin Buyi this time. You take good care of your injuries. Zhang Feng's face was slightly moved, and he replied, You must be careful, that kid has a way of attacking with spiritual thoughts, which makes people unable to guard against him. Kungsu nodded to indicate that he understood. Zhang Feng then said with anger and resentment in his tone. Then Qin Buyi went too far and dared to make trouble at the door of my Kunlun secret realm. He really didn't know whether to live or die. When Taoist Kungsu heard this, his face became very ugly, and he said bitterly. Humph, I have already contacted the Fire Cloud secret realm and the Shueiyue secret realm. People from these two secret realms will be here soon. That kid can't escape this time. He dares to kill people from my Kunlun secret realm, and he is so rampant. He must live and die. Chapter 48 Three Great Secret Realms Combination Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time passes and the next day passes. There are less than 24 hours left before the 3-day deadline. In the past 2 days or so, many of the Kunlun sect's disciples have turned very pale. They don't know why no one has come to stop Qin Buyi. While Qin Buyi was waiting patiently, a sudden shout came. Heavenly Sword Qi. Earth Sword open. Human Sword falls. Kunlun secret technique 3-talent sword formation. Not in an instant, Qin Buyi was locked in place by 3 long swords. Murderous intent came from the sword, and Qin Buyi slowly opened his eyes. Killing and slaughtering. Chong. Instantly pulling out the killing blade, Qin Buyi held the killing blade and slashed at the 3 swords beside him. Clang! 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 The high-speed vibrating killing blade collided fiercely with the Sankai sword formation. The Sankai sword formation was on the verge of collapse when Qin Buyi slashed it with his sword. Qin Buyi concentrated all his strength on the killing blade and shouted, Open it for me. Chong! The clash of swords made a harsh sound. Boom! After a loud noise, the Sankai sword formation was split open, and the 3 swords flew into the distance. Qin Buyi looked at the person in front of him. A seasoned man was reaching out to take back the 3-talent sword formation. The other party looked at Qin Buyi at the same time and said, Your cultivation is really great. I will kill you with the sword today. Qin Buyi's spiritual thoughts swept over him, and there were 2 auras of perfection in refining the void beside the old Taoist, and said, Now that we are here, don't hide. A woman's chuckle came. Master Qin is indeed a heroic young man. When he saw something extraordinary today, the slave family was reluctant to take action. After the laughter, a figure of a young woman in red gauze appeared next to the old Taoist. Also appearing at the same time was a rough man with a long knife in his hand and a look of disdain on his face. The man looked at Qin Buyi and said, little kid with a yellow mouth, today is the day you die. Qin Buyi looked at the three people in front of him, and he already knew their identities. Kunlun Secret Realm, Fire Cloud Secret Realm, and even Shueiyue Secret Realm, which has always been neutral, have sent people over. It's really a big deal. Qin is really flattered. Lan Linglong moved very far away at the beginning of the war. At this time, she opened her small mouth and looked at the sky, saying in shock. Taoist Kungsu, the master of the Kunlun Secret Realm, is a legendary strong man who has already half-stepped into the fusion realm. Hong Xiu, the elder of Shueiyue Secret Realm, is rumored to be on par with Hong Wanru, the master of Shueiyue Secret Realm. The fire sword of the Fire Cloud Secret Realm, he has mastered peerless sword skills. There are rumors that another Lianxu perfection in the Shueiyue Secret Realm died under his sword a few years ago. Any one of these three people is a leader in the Blue Star cultivation world. Qin Buyi is in danger this time. At that moment, Lan Linglong sent a message to Qin Buyi and told Qin Buyi the specific information about the three people. Huh? People from the Lan family? Isn't the Lan family a force in your Fire Cloud Secret Realm? How come you got involved with Qin Buyi? Just when Lan Linglong was transmitting the message, Hongxiu pretended to be shocked and covered her mouth and said to Huidao. Humph. Huidao snorted coldly and ignored Hongxiu's knowing question. Everyone knew that the Lan family had withdrawn from the Fire Cloud Secret Realm. Hongxiu obviously wanted to embarrass Huidao by asking this question. Kungsu seemed not to notice the disharmony between the two, and said, the top priority is to get rid of this kid in front of us. As for the Lan family, we will deal with it later. Qin Buyi held the killing blade and pointed at the three of them. Which of you three will come to die first? Huh, is this kid crazy? Huidao said with a contemptuous smile. Mr. Qin, the new family has never seen such a crazy person as Mr. Xiang. I really don't want to attack him. Hongxiu said with a flirtatious look at Qin Buyi. Kungsu did not speak, but sent a message to Huidao and Hongxiu, two fellow Taoists, let's go together and fight quickly. Heavenly Sword Qi. Earth Sword Open. Human Sword Falls. Kunlun Secret Technique 3-Talent Sword Formation. Kungsu once again used the 3-Talent Sword Formation to kill Qin Buyi. After Kungsu finished using the 3-Talent Sword Formation, he spit out 4 flying swords from his mouth. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Killing Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Killing Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Trapping Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique Zhuxian Sword Formation. The 4 small swords instantly became about 10 feet in size and landed in Qin Buyi's 4 directions, killing Qin Buyi. Hongxiu chuckled and said, Taoist Kungsu, is it necessary to come up with all your firepower? Having said that, Hongxiu is not waterproof at all. Secret Technique of Water and Moon, Mirror Flower and Water Moon. Secret Technique of Water Moon, Inversion. Hongxiu took out a mirror from her arms and looked at Qin Buyi. Qin Buyi suddenly felt that the direction of the space he was in chaos. Up turned into down, and left turned into right. Secret Technique of Fire Cloud Slash. The fire knife held the long knife in his hand and flew towards Qin Buyi at high speed. The long knife was burning with hot flames and slashed towards Qin Buyi's neck. Secret Technique of Fire Cloud 2-Blade Style. In the process of slashing at Qin Buyi, the fire knife took out another knife from the waist. The knife body was dark, with a faint hint of green. Huidao stared at the killing blade in Qin Buyi's hand, and said with a ferocious smile, boy, it's a pity that such a good knife follows you. Don't worry, I will definitely treat it well after you die. Qin Buyi looked at the green light that appeared on the second long knife when the fire knife was drawn out, and his eyes condensed. Poisonous. Qin Buyi was in a very dangerous situation at this time, with attacks from all directions almost targeting him. The Sankai Sword Formation sealed Qin Buyi's upper and lower space, and the Zhuxian Sword Formation sealed Qin Buyi's front, back, left, and right. Hongxiu's Secret Technique of Water and Moon made Qin Buyi confused. Facing the front is the menacing fire knife. with the three people refining the void and consummating themselves with all their strength, they were almost certain to die. Qin Buyi was full of fighting spirit and shouted, "Well done." Under the control of powerful spiritual thoughts, the impact of the red sleeve water moon secret technique is minimized. Killing and slaughtering. Qin Buyi gathered all his strength, and the high-speed vibrating killing blade struck hard at the fire knife in front. Chong! Chong! The fire sword's offensive immediately slowed down under Qin Buyi's full counterattack. Taking advantage of the gap in the fire knife attack, Qin Buyi shouted, "Kill, annihilate." A full moon with a diameter of several thousand meters appeared in front of Qin Buyi. It shrouded the Sankai sword formation, the Zhuxian sword formation, and the fire sword. Tens of thousands of phantoms of killing blades condensed within the full moon, and the phantom blade points pointed in all directions. Cut! As Qin Buyi shouted, tens of thousands of phantoms instantly slashed around. Chong! 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 The full moon dispersed, and Huadao held the two swords in front of him for defense. A gap appeared in the Sankai sword formation and the Zhuxian sword formation under Qin Buyi's intensive offensive. Qin Buyi saw the right opportunity and instantly escaped from the surroundings of the Sankai sword formation and the Zhuxian sword formation. Looking at the three of them, Qin Buyi shouted, "It's my turn now." Chapter 49 Three Great Secret Realms Combination Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shao Qing, come out to fight. As soon as Qin Buyi finished speaking, a loud dragon roar came out in front of Qin Buyi. After the roar of the dragon, a majestic blue dragon hundreds of feet long appeared in the sky. Shao Qing said to Qin Buyi excitedly, "Master, are these three rotten garlics opposite me?" Qin Buyi nodded, pointed to the three people opposite and said to Shao Qing, "You choose one, and I will take care of the remaining two." Shao Qing looked down at the three people opposite him and said, "Sir, these three don't look very good. Can I choose them all?" Taoist Kungsu and the other three people watched Qin Buyi and Shao Qing chatting as if no one else was around, constantly belittling themselves and others in their words, and their noses were almost crooked with anger. "Bah! Don't be so arrogant, you beast. You beat three of us one by one. Why don't you go to heaven?" Hongxiu shouted. "What kind of master is the same pet? They are just as arrogant. They will kill your master before subduing you." The fire knife said sarcastically. When Shao Qing appeared, Kungsu Taoist's eyes were fixed on Shao Qing as if they were shining brightly. There is a female dragon in the Kunlun secret realm that is about to transform into a dragon. If the green dragon in front of her is captured and mated with the female dragon, the time for the mother dragon to transform into a dragon will be greatly shortened. The most important thing is that if the dragon and the dragon mate and produce offspring and sell them to other secret realms, the profits will be unimaginable. Kungsu Taoist looked at Shao Qing and said, "Qinglong, instead of following a dying person, why not abandon the darkness and turn to the light? How about coming to my secret realm of Kunlun?" Shao Qing ignored Taoist Kungsu and turned to Qin Buyi, "Master, I will choose that woman." Zhang Long's battle technique swallowing the sky. Shao Qing opened his mouth and bit into the space where Hongxiu was. After Shao Qing bit it, Hongxiu disappeared into thin air next to Taoist Kungsu. Before Hongxiu could react to Shao Qing's offensive, her environment changed instantly. After Hongxiu's vision became clear, she found herself in a dark and gloomy space, which felt vaguely repulsive to her. Hongxiu didn't dare to be careless. She held the mirror in her hand tightly and turned the mirror side towards herself. Secret technique of water and moon, mirror flower and water moon. Secret technique of water and moon's protection. A smaller version of Hongxiu appears in the mirror in Hongxiu's hand, and Hongxiu in the mirror looks more real. Hongxiu in the outside world seems to be a stand-in, full of illusions. Just when Hongxiu breathed a sigh of relief, Xiaoqing's voice came from the dark space. Sanglong's secret technique, Netherworld. In an instant, the space's rejection of Hongxiu increased by several levels, and it continued to rise. The feeling of rejection soon turned into a violent squeezing feeling that spread from all directions to the mirror in Hongxiu's hand. Crack! A crack appeared in the center of the mirror. The red embroidery from the outside world quickly disappeared in this strong squeezing feeling. Boom! As the mirror made a sound, the red embroidery in the mirror slowly walked out of the mirror. His face was very ugly, and he looked at the crack in the center of the mirror with some distress. Songlong's secret technique, peeling off. Xiaoqing's voice came from the space again. This time, Hongxiu not only felt a squeezing sensation on her body, but also the sea of consciousness in her mind was being squeezed strongly at the same time. Soon, she discovered something that horrified her, that is, she had completely lost control of her body. My body felt numb and I couldn't even move my eyes. In addition to the thoughts that kept rising, she couldn't even control the divine thoughts in the sea of consciousness. Secret technique of Songlong, end of life. As soon as Xiaoqing finished speaking, Hongxiu regained consciousness of her body, but she still couldn't move at all. At this time, something happened that terrified her. Her life was passing by, every second was disappearing at an alarming speed. If this continued, she would probably die soon, but now she can't do anything but watch her lifespan disappear. This sense of fear made her, a strong person who had perfected her cultivation, completely confused. As for the outside world, Qin Buyi held the killing blade and slashed at the fire knife closest to him. Killing and slaughtering. The killing blade vibrated, times per second, and Qin Buyi swung it with all his strength, aiming at the fire knife's neck and slashing hard. Secret technique of fire cloud slash. Hu Dao raised his right hand to block Qin Buyi's attack. Thump, thump, thump. Huge force came from the Hu Dao weapon. After blocking Qin Buyi's attack, Hu Dao took a few steps back before completely releasing the force. Just when Qin Buyi and Hu Dao were fighting, Taoist Kungsu's offensive also arrived. Kunlun's secret technique, Big Dipper formation. Taoist Kungsu sacrificed 7 flying swords, arranged according to the arrangement of the Big Dipper, and aimed at Qin Buyi with strong murderous intent to suppress him. Secret technique of fire cloud, 2-blade style. After Hu Dao stabilized his figure, he immediately attacked Qin Buyi. Qin Buyi was now surrounded by enemies from both sides. There was a fierce attack from the fire sword in front of him, and Taoist Kungsu's Beidou sword formation was like a gleam on his back behind him. Master, be careful. Xiaoqing shouted in the distance. Qin Buyi's eyes narrowed and he ignored Taoist Kungsu's Beidou sword formation behind him. He grasped the killing blade and struck towards the fire knife in front of him. Killing and slaughtering. The twin swords of the killing blade and the fire knife collided and sparks flew out. After the collision, huge force came from the killing blade and poured into Qin Buyi's body. Qin Buyi did not retreat to release his strength, but grasped the flaw that appeared at the moment of collision. Killing creatures and scattering souls. The killing blade disappeared in Qin Buyi's hand instantly, appearing in Qin Buyi's sea of consciousness. Divine thoughts in the sea of consciousness poured into the body of the killing blade crazily. After the influx of spiritual thoughts, the blade turned golden yellow. The golden killing blade that turned into the size of a palm appeared in front of Qin Buyi again and slashed towards the sea of fire knife consciousness. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the killing blade pierced into the sea of fire knife consciousness. The killing blade that entered the sea of fire knife consciousness struck out the first sword. Boom! The Hu Dao, who was attacking from the outside world, heard a loud noise in his ears, and his mind went blank for an instant. Qin Buyi seized the opportunity, stepped forward, grabbed the 2 swords in his hands, and grabbed them with all his strength. Hu Dao regained his consciousness in less than a second. Seeing Qin Buyi and himself snatching weapons, Hu Dao shouted. Secret technique of fire cloud slash. Just as the fire sword launched its offensive, the killing blade in the sea of consciousness struck out for the second time. Boom! There was another loud noise in Hu Dao's ears, and the attack he had just launched was interrupted instantly. Qin Buyi took advantage of the situation and kicked Hu Dao in the abdomen, and took the 2 knives from his hands. Holding the long knife without poison in his right hand, Qin Buyi shouted. Killing and slaughtering. The long knife that vibrated at high speed was thrown from Qin Buyi's hand behind him. Chong! The long sword and the Beidou sword formation collided together, and the long sword blocked the Beidou sword formation for a breath. It was shattered into pieces by the powerful Beidou sword formation. In battles between masters, one breath can often determine many things. Qin Buyi held the long knife that was smeared with poison by the fire knife, and aimed it at the fire knife to chop it down. Hu Dao regained his consciousness again and found that the weapon in his hand had been snatched away by Qin Buyi. Qin Buyi was raising the knife to slash at himself. Suddenly, without any hesitation, Qin Buyi bit the tip of his tongue to burn his blood and escape. Boom! The third attack of the killing blade in the sea of fire knife came. After a loud noise, Wu Dao's mind went blank again. Killing and slaughtering, the poisonous long knife that vibrated at high speed slashed towards Wu Dao's neck. Laugh! The fire knife's head and body were separated. When Wu Dao regained his consciousness again, he found that the headless body falling from the air was somewhat familiar. Take a closer look, it's me. Qin Buyi pointed at Wu Dao's head and shouted, broken. The offensive of the killing blade in the fire knife sea of consciousness suddenly became fierce, smashing the fire knife sea of consciousness into pieces. Receive! Qin Buyi shouted again. Whoosh! After the killing blade shattered the fire knife consciousness sea, it quickly flew towards Qin Buyi, changing from the size of a palm back to normal size on the way. Qin Buyi held the killing blade and quickly flew towards the fire knife headlessly. After approaching Wu Dao's corpse, quickly take the space ring from Wu Dao's corpse. The menacing Beidou sword formation behind them is approaching. There was no time to see what was inside the fire knife space ring. Qin Buyi put the space ring and the poisonous long knife into the system mall for recycling. Ding, item value is being determined. Ding, judgment completed, total value, mall points. Chapter 53 Great Secret Realms Combination Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Buyi quickly converted the mall points into attribute points and added them to himself. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti Elementary, all attributes increased by 5.00%, cultivation, level 334, middle stage of virtual refining, 500/, divine thought, refining the void to perfection, power, 334. Speed, 334. Stamina, 334. Attack, 334. Defense, 334. Luck, 334. Killing blade level 334, 500/, broken blade, 1/9, attack increase, percent, attack, 334. Killing sword technique level 200, 200/, cannot break through without follow-up, attack, 200. Qinlong level 334, 500/, after the cultivation level breaks through to the middle stage of refining the void, the intensity of spiritual thoughts also breaks through from the late stage of refining the void to the perfect stage of refining the void. Qin Buyi grasped the killing blade, turned around and struck hard behind him. Killing and slaughtering, the high-speed vibrating Sesho blade collided with the Hokuto sword formation. Boom! After a loud noise, Qin Buyi took a few steps back and frowned slightly as he looked at the Beidou sword formation that had not stopped advancing. The intensity of the Beidou sword formation clearly exceeded Qin Buyi's prediction. Seeing the Big Dipper sword formation approaching him again, Qin Buyi concentrated all his strength on the killing blade. Kill, annihilate. A full moon with a diameter of several kilometers appeared in the field. The phantoms of tens of thousands of killing blades condensed inside the full moon, and the phantom blade tips pointed towards the Beidou sword formation. Cut! As Qin Buyi shouted, tens of thousands of phantoms of killing blades were aimed at the Beidou sword formation and slashed down. Chong! 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 The sound of intensive clashing of golden swords was heard within the full moon. The full moon dispersed, and the Beidou sword formation continued to attack Qin Buyi with unabated force. Qin Buyi's eyes narrowed and he looked at Taoist Kungsu who was controlling the sword array in the distance, and an idea suddenly came to his mind. If you can't solve the problem, then solve the person who created the problem. With his figure drawing a perfect angle in the air, Qin Buyi raised his knife to kill Taoist Kungsu. Taoist Kungsu saw Qin Buyi coming towards him, and his heart trembled, and he quickly changed the method to control the Beidou sword formation. Big Dipper formation, G. The speed of the Beidou sword formation, which was chasing after Qin Buyi, suddenly increased. Whoosh! The Beidou sword formation flying at an explosive speed caused waves of sound. In the blink of an eye, he surpassed Qin Buyi and formed a sword wall in front of him. Seeing that his way forward was blocked, Qin Buyi immediately changed his direction and continued to kill Taoist Kungsu. Taoist Kungsu snorted coldly. The Big Dipper formation is sleepy. The sword wall composed of the Beidou sword formation instantly appeared around Qin Buyi's body. trapping Qin Buyi firmly within it. Big Dipper Formation, Kill. The 7 flying swords that formed the Beidou sword formation immediately attacked Qin Buyi, who was trapped in the sword formation. Chong! Chong! Qin Buyi held the knife in front of him to block. Qin Buyi could resist it for a short period of time, but as time went on. Chong! Chong! Laugh! Chong! Laugh! Qin Buyi's body began to show injuries, and each one was deeply visible to the bone. Killing and slaughtering. Qin Buyi wielded the killing blade with all his strength and aimed at the 7 flying swords that were constantly attacking. Chong! 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 Taoist Kungsu saw Qin Buyi struggling to defend in the sword formation, and said sarcastically. How dare you show off your trivial skills to embarrass yourself? Just when Qin Buyi was trapped in the Beidou sword formation, there was a loud noise in the distance. Boom! Qin Buyi and Taoist Kungsu looked at the loud noise at the same time. Hongxiu, who had disappeared since the beginning of the war, appeared again. Taoist Kungsu was overjoyed when he saw Hongxiu returning and said quickly, Fellow Taoist Hongxiu, come and help me. Hongxiu turned a deaf ear to Taoist Kungsu's call and looked at Taoist Kungsu with dull eyes. After the two looked at each other for a few seconds, Hongxiu suddenly screamed in fear and ran away into the distance without looking back. It was as if something terrible was chasing her behind her. Taoist Kungsu was very puzzled when he saw Hongxiu acting like this, but the next second, something happened that made Taoist Kungsu's hair stand on end. The fleeing Hongxiu's appearance quickly aged, and in just a few seconds, she went from a delicate-looking young woman to an old woman full of decay. After becoming an old woman, aging did not stop and continued. After a few seconds, Hongxiu's breath of life suddenly stopped. And her body fell from the sky. Xiaoqing let out a loud dragon roar at Hongxiu's body. After the dragon's roar, Hongxiu's corpse fell apart in an instant. Xiaoqing Glonglo picked up Hongxiu's corpse, took away Hongxiu's space ring, and quickly flew towards Qin Buyi's direction. Taoist Kungsu couldn't help but feel a little dizzy when he saw Hongxiu, who was dead in a miserable state, and when he saw Xiaoqing was about to meet Qin Buyi. It would be troublesome if the dragons were allowed to fight together. Taoist Kungsu gritted his teeth and couldn't care less, burning the essence and blood in his body. Heavenly Sword Qi. Earth Sword Open. Human Sword Falls. Kunlun Secret Technique 3 Talent Sword Formation. 3 more flying swords flew out of Taoist Kungsu's mouth and headed towards Xiaoqing. This was not enough. Taoist Kungsu spit out another large mouthful of blood and shouted. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Killing Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Killing Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique, Immortal Trapping Sword. Kunlun Secret Technique Zhuxian Sword Formation. 4 more flying swords flew out of his mouth. The 4 flying swords occupied 4 directions and flew quickly towards Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing, who was about to meet Qin Buyi, was stopped by Taoist Kungsu in the middle. The Sankai Sword Formation and the Zhuxian Sword Formation blocked all directions of Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing's powerful dragon body collided with the sword formation, causing ripples in the sword formation before returning to calmness. After repeatedly hitting the sword formation with no results, Xiaoqing's voice came out from within the sword formation. Azure Dragon War Technique Dragon Breath. Xiaoqing took a big breath, then aimed at the sword array in the next second, and sprayed out extremely hot flames from his mouth. Z. A sound of melting ice and snow was heard in the sword formation. After the flames dissipated, a hole was burned out of the Sankai sword formation and the Zhuxian sword formation released by Taoist Kungsu. 2 of the 7 flying swords have been completely burned. Taoist Kungsu showed distress in his eyes. Xiaoqing flew out of the sword formation and came to Qin Buyi, who was trapped in the Beidou sword formation. Azure Dragon War Technique Dragon Breath. Xiaoqing repeated his old trick, taking a big breath and shooting high-temperature flames at the Beidou sword formation. Z. The sound of melting ice and snow was heard again, the flames dissipated, and one of the 7 flying swords that formed the Beidou sword formation was burned. Qin Buyi flew out along the exposed hole of the burned flying sword and came to Xiaoqing's side. Xiaoqing stretched out his dragon claw and handed him a space ring. The owner of the space ring was the dead Hongxiu. After Qin Buyi took over the space ring, he immediately handed it over to the system mall for recycling. Ding, item value is being determined. Ding, the judgment is completed, the total value is 1,000 mall points. After converting these 1,000 points into 50 attribute points, add them to yourself immediately. Name, Qin Buyi, Tianhuangti Elementary, all attributes increased by 5.00%, cultivation, level 384, middle stage of virtual refining, 500/- divine thought, refining the void to perfection, power, 384. Speed, 384. Stamina, 384. Attack, 384. Defense, 384. Luck, 384. Killing blade level 384, 500/- broken blade, 1/9, attack increase, percent, attack, 384. Killing sword technique level 200, 200/- cannot break through without follow-up, attack, 200. Qinlong level 384, 500/- Qin Buyi, whose cultivation level had improved again, looked at Xiaoqin and said through a message, Xiaoqin, come together. With Xiaoqin's raiding formation, Qin Buyi could finally use his most powerful killing sword technique with confidence. Killing creatures and scattering souls, the killing blade disappeared instantly in Qin Buyi's hand and appeared in Qin Buyi's sea of consciousness. The divine thoughts in the sea of consciousness crazily poured into the body of the killing blade, and the blade became completely golden. The next second, a palm-sized killing blade appeared in front of Qin Buyi's eyes and slashed towards Taoist Kungsu. Whoosh! The extremely fast killing blade brought out waves of sound and arrived in front of Taoist Kungsu in the blink of an eye. Taoist Kungsu looked at the spiritual attack in front of him, turned around and ran away. At the same time, he controlled the remaining flying swords and continued to form a sword formation to attack Qin Buyi. Kunlun secret technique, Big Dipper formation. Kunlun secret technique, Zhuxian sword formation. Just when Taoist Kungsu tried to interfere with Qin Buyi had no choice but to withdraw the killing blade to protect himself and give up the attack on him. Xiaoqin was already prepared in the direction where Kungsu Taoist was escaping, and aimed at Kungsu Taoist's mouth to spit out high-temperature flames. Azure Dragon War Technique, Dragon Breath. Taoist Kungsu had already consumed some of his energy and blood by burning it before, and now he had to dodge the spiritual attack of the killing blade behind him. At the same time, he also had to control the two sword formations to launch an offensive against Qin Buyi. It could be said that he was doing three things at once. Taoist Kungsu, whose energy was fully dispersed, did not react immediately when faced with Xiaoqin's attack. By the time he reacted, he was already a step too late. In a hurry, Taoist Kungsu could only use his spiritual power to form a simple defense on his body's surface. The dragon's breath was not wasted at all, it was all sprayed on Taoist Kungsu's body, making a sizzling sound of burning meat. The smell of meat comes from Taoist Kungsu. The dragon's breath dispersed. Taoist Kungsu's body was completely black, and his clothes were burned to ashes, his eyebrows and hair were all burned off. And there were extremely serious burns on his body. Taoist Kungsu endured the severe pain in his body, looked at Xiaoqin with murderous intent in his eyes, and said bitterly, "Damn beast, if I catch you, I will skin you and cramp you." Just as Taoist Kungsu was cursing angrily, the killing blade that had been following him slashed into his sea of consciousness. Seeing the killing blade entering his sea of consciousness, Taoist Kungsu secretly said in his heart, "Not good," that he had just been drenched by Xiaoqin's dragon breath, and in his haste, he ignored the most dangerous offensive. The killing blade that entered Taoist Kungsu's sea of consciousness began to continuously slash at the sea of consciousness. Boom! The killing blade struck out for the first time, and a loud sound rang in Taoist Kungsu's ears. Taoist Kungsu's mind suddenly went blank.